Okay, this time I'd like to call the Placerville City Council meeting of January 14th, 2014, for you that haven't figured that out in your checkbooks yet, if you write checks, to order. And at this time, I'd like to have you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ms. Zito, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Vice Mayor, would you like to observe a moment of silence for Mr. Hanley?
Yes. I was going to do that after that, but thank you very much. At this time, this past, on the 31st, I believe it was, Frank Hanley passed away. He was a retired Parks and Recreation Commissioner, worked for the city as a volunteer for 10 years. And I know he's truly missed on the Parks and Recreation Committee. And at this point, we'd like to have a moment of silence, please. And then later, I'll have somebody say a few words. Okay, and at this point, we'll do the roll call, and then I'll have Mr. Ewell say a few words about him, along with some of the council members.
Councilmember Borelli?
Here.
Vice Mayor Hagan?
Here.
Councilmember Patton?
Here.
Mayor Thomas is noted as absent. Councilmember Wilkins?
Here.
Okay. Mr. Ewell, would you mind saying a few words about Frank?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On behalf of the City of Placerville Recreation and Parks Commission, we'd like to send our heartfelt condolences to the Hanley family. Recreation and Parks Commissioner and Chairman Frank Hanley passed away over the holidays. Frank was on our commission from 2005 to 2013. During Frank's 8 years on the commission, he only missed one meeting while fighting a battle with cancer. Frank will be remembered for his passion for our community service. Frank always did his homework and was a great listener who valued everyone's opinion, a true model citizen. We will be greatly missed by all of us.
Thank you. I know, Ms. Patton, you had a few words to say, please.
I do. Frank Hanley worked for me in the early 2000s, and he was truly a gentleman in the best sense of the word. He was always upbeat and positive, never had a bad word to say about anybody or anything. He was extremely dedicated to this city. And I remember when his back first started to trouble him, and he left work and came back, 2 weeks later, to tell me that his back was broken in 3 places, that his bones had fractured because of this disease. And he was laughing because they bondoed his back. And it was that's just the spirit of this man. He just did not get down, and he would send me emails throughout his Steve alluded to the length of time he struggled with the disease, and I would get emails from him about updates, and honestly, in every one of them, there was a concern about, I hope this doesn't delay my wife's trip to Egypt and Israel, or, my grandson has chickenpox, how am I going to be able to hug him? I mean, it was always, there was a concern for someone else in his emails, and again, that's just the nature of his spirit. But one of the things that I will always remember him for many of you don't know, he was also a docent at the observatory up by the college. And one time I was walking and I saw some stars in the sky, and I immediately thought of Frank, and I called him and I said, Frank, what are those stars? To me, they look like a golfer's putter. That's what they look like to me. And he said to me, well, he wanted to know which horizon they were in and how far up they were and whatever and whatever. And at the end of the day, what he said to me was, he goes, they may be part of a constellation, and probably they are, but he says, because you think that they're Carol's putter in the sky, you can call them that, and you can go around and name the stars, whatever you want. And that's the nature of Frank Hanley, and I will absolutely miss the man, and I'm sure that his family will miss him, and I just needed to say those few words about him.
Thank you, Carol. Does anybody else have anything to say?
I just wanted to say some quick words. I've said this more often than not, that one of the plaudits of being on city council is that I've had the opportunity to meet so many really neat people that I wouldn't have had I not been here, and he was one. And he, as Carol said, every time he was just always happy and always smiling, and I always think of Goldbug Park when I think of him. But anyway, and I am just so sorry, and my condolences to the family. Right. Thank you.
And just for your information, this meeting will be adjourned in his memory today, so I'm going to get to that. At this point, announcements and presentations to the public. Police Chief Scott Hiller. I believe we have received an award.
A big one.
We did. And it should be here any second.
Oh. Oh, if you'd like, we can move on and come back, or?
I think I hear it now.
Oh.
Actually.
Oh, okay.
No, real quick, last August, we had the National Night Out festivities, and the department heard back from National Night Out, and we ranked #1 in the nation in cities under 15,000, cities our size, from a pretty big group. And there were a lot of people that helped make this successful, one of them being our National Night Out coordinator, Julie Burnsides. I don't think she's here tonight, but she put in a tremendous amount of work on that. And also like to specifically thank Target, Ashley Pearson and her team from Target were very instrumental in this. The planning committee that consisted of Julie Burnsides, Judy Knapp, Mandy Bryant, Nancy Kramer, Kathy Dean, Roberta Hendry, Judy Irwin, Dan Maceo, Mary Parlin, Tim Thompson, and retired interim chief Mike Scott. There were significant donations provided from Raley's, Walmart, the Mountain Democrat, Marshall Foundation for Community Health, Western Sign Company Incorporated, and Thompson's Toyota. There were a lot more people involved in this that made this event successful, but if I were to name everybody, we would be here all night. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lieutenant Nida,
Great.
who has arrived with the
trophy.
the trophy. So there you have it.
I'm sure she had to get it out of the safe. And
Yeah, I actually, I drove from Texas. I just got it just now. It was quite a drive. Anyway, I think the chief said everything. We are very proud to be first this year. We're going to hold on to this trophy and hopefully claim first again for this next year. We are looking for volunteers to help us coordinate this for the upcoming year. So anyone who's interested out there in the public that is interested in volunteering their time to coordinate our National Night event, we are looking for those people, and they can contact Sergeant Dan Maciel at the Placerville Police Department. So without further ado, I would like to present this to the city manager, Mr. Morris.
great.
It was that long ride from Texas.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant Nida. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, this is great. Glad to have it back. This is the third time, I believe, in the tenure I've been on the service, that been on the council, that we've run this. I think 3 out of the last 10 years. So, not bad.
Should I retrieve it back and take it back to the police department? And we got to keep it clean, no fingerprints, and no drinking champagne out of it. Well, tonight
That'd
is
be
an
fine.
exception.
Because I don't, I would take it to my office, but the problem is I don't have an office at City Hall.
What about in the lobby?
We have some of them at the
We
police
actually
department.
have a long line of awards from National Night Out in the lobby, and it would fit in there to update that. A lot of them are plaques, but this one being the cup would
All right.
fit nicely.
All right. Well, let's make sure it gets back to the police department safely.
It can sit in the empty spot tonight. How's that?
That sounds good.
We'll put it on display for tonight.
All right. Thank you, Kim. Okay, so then closed session report, City Attorney June Driscoll.
The council did not take reportable action in closed session tonight, sir.
Okay. And at this point, we have a motion to adopt the agenda unless there's any changes.
So move. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And now at item 6.1, we have a new Development Services employee, and I believe that's going to be introduced by Mr. Pierre Ravaz, Development Services Director.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Hagan. It is my pleasure to introduce Nicole Young. She's our new Associate Civil Engineer in the Engineering Division of the Development Services Department. Nicole has been working for the city now since October 7th of last year. Nicole comes with an extensive engineering experience. She earned her Bachelor's of Science degree in Civil Engineering from UC Davis. Following her graduation, she acquired about 10 years of professional engineering work experience with a number of different engineering consulting firms, including the Spink Corporation, Gene Thorne and Associates, Carlton Engineering, and RSC Engineering. Nicole was formerly a founding partner in her own engineering consulting firm, Lebec Young Engineering in Cameron Park, serving as its vice president from 2005 to 2012. Her firm has served clients in El Dorado County, Sacramento County, Placer County, the city of Rockland, and the city of Roseville. With this broad-based experience, she brings much to the city of Placerville. We are fortunate that such a professional engineer of high credentials has chosen to join the staff here at the city. So with that, please welcome Nicole Young to the staff of the city of Placerville.
Stand up so, yeah, stand up so everyone knows who you are. Thanks. Thank you. And Bonnie Rich is, okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Hagan. It is again my pleasure to introduce Bonnie Rich, our new Administrative Secretary in the Engineering Division of Development Services Department. Bonnie has been working for the city now since December 2nd of last year. She earned her Associate of Arts degree from the American River College and brings to us about 23 combined years of public service while employed with the County of El Dorado. Her work with the county included the capacities of office assistant, buyer, IT department coordinator, procurement and contracts manager, purchasing agent, and finally senior department analyst, where she provided overall guidance and assistance to county departments with the facilitation and management of professional service contracts and competitive selection processes. Bonnie possesses a very broad range of administrative support services, which enables her to provide a high level of administrative support functions and to the day-to-day operations of the Development Services Department. So with that, please welcome Bonnie Rich to the staff of the City of Placerville.
Great. Great. Thank you, Bonnie. Thanks for being here. Thanks both of you for being here this evening. We appreciate you showing up, and we like to put a face with a name when we hear that there are new employees in the city. Thank you very much for being here. And at this time, we also are going to do certificates for recognition of employee service anniversaries. Oh, Kim Knight is being dual purpose tonight. Carrier of the trophy and also 10 years service. So who's gonna, are you gonna? Cleve. Cleve. Thank you. I will do that. So Brody Jordan is not here this evening, I believe, and he has 10 years of service. Alan Hopkins is not here. Okay, he's ill today, and he has 10 years of service. Kim Nida has 10 years of service. And she's been in law enforcement longer than 10 years also, I believe, from the Bay Area. And then John Muser has 15 years of service, or as he told me this morning, almost 16 coming up. So appreciate you guys being here. And we do really appreciate your tenure on the police department. I believe we have one of the finest police departments in the area. Well, wait a minute. That could be taken the wrong way, because we're the only police department in the area. But for a city this size, I really appreciate the excellent work that you guys do and your professionalism on the street, and your ability to meet with the public at large. I've seen individuals meet with just plain citizens and people who were, in some cases, in a disarray mentally would be a good way to say it, and yet they've taken the time to talk to them and present them with options and ideas. And so in difficult situations, you guys really do stand out, and I really do appreciate your efforts and times that you spend working, keeping everybody else in the city safe. So thank you very much for your effort, and thanks for sticking around for as long as you have. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 6.3. It's a motion for the city council to adjourn the meeting sine die and appoint a city manager as temporary chairperson. I'll move that.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Okay.
You have the gavel.
I have the gavel.
If you need the,
Okay.
you got the table there you can pound on.
How's that? So we'll call the meeting back to order. And at this time, the matter of business is to request nominations for the position of mayor for the coming year.
I'd like to nominate Carl Hagan for mayor.
I'll second that.
Have a nomination and second. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Seeing none, I will call for is it a roll call vote we need on this, Susan, or not?
Voice vote.
Voice vote, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Just me.
Motion carries.
Not kissing you tonight, not with that cold.
Congratulations,
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, at this time, I'd like to call the meeting back to order. And then call for the motion and a second to nominate the candidate for the position of vice mayor. And at this point, I'll make a nomination that Patty Borelli be the vice mayor. Have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. And a second. Are there any other nominations? Okay. Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. So our vice mayor will be Patty Borelli. Thank you again. And I want to pass our thanks on to Wendy Thomas, who's not here, but is out of town traveling on business. And,
I just want to real quick say, and I think that's unfortunate, because I think Wendy's done a stellar job. She's been faced with a lot of conflicts, and and I think she's just done a stellar job as a mayor, and I just want to say that, say thank you to her.
well, I wanted to let you know I threatened her that I was going to nominate her to run again for 2 more years because she'd done such a good job. But she said she wouldn't
accept.
Wouldn't accept that, so I understand. At this point, we are on item 7, public comment, brief non-agenda items. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the council on a matter not on the agenda, and it will have up to 3 minutes to speak, and also does not allow for personal attacks on individuals or which could be considered slanderous also, or invade someone's personal privacy. At this time, have there been any written communications?
There are none, Mayor, thank you.
Okay. This time, we'll open up the microphone, the dais, and anybody that would like to speak is invited to come up. Anything not on the agenda? Seeing nobody approaching the podium, I will bring it back to the council. At this time, we'll move on to item 8, which is the consent calendar. Any council member wishing any item removed? And we have 1 through 12. Any questions or comments on any of those items? I will note that on the minutes that were distributed had a typo in them, and that has been corrected on my copy of the minutes, and it's also been corrected on the posting on the website. So it was 2 words that were an error that was left on that was originally in I guess what were in the draft, and they got carried over to the ones that were printed, so. But that has been corrected. If there's any other corrections or things, seeing none, can I?
I have a quick correction, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Or an addition. Number 8.11 on the police vehicle.
Yes.
The amount indicated there is the bid. However, I forgot to include that's plus tax and license. So that is the amount.
We have to pay tax?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's still within the.
Didn't you tell them who we were?
Still within the budgeted amount, but just plus tax and license.
Okay.
Plus tax and license, okay.
Are there
Oh,
any,
no, you first, the council first.
yeah, any comments or questions? Okay. Anybody in the audience that has any comments or would like to make any comments on anything on the consent calendar?
Sue Rodman, resident of Placerville and lover of the El Dorado Trail. And I just want to say yay for progress on the trail for 8.8. Good job.
Okay, thank you. All right, oops, one more.
Good evening, Mayor Hagan, and congratulations to you and to Patty Borelli as Vice Mayor. Kathy Lishman, resident of Placerville. It's nice to see that Caltrans, the agreement with Caltrans on 8.8 finally worked out. And I'm totally 150% in favor of item 8.12, the grant for the application for the Monument Garden. But I really came tonight to speak to item 8.6, the lease of City Hall. I'd like to give a little history, and I was part of a Blue Ribbon Committee that was appointed by the council. There were 10 members, a member from the chamber, the PDA, the Board of Realtors, the Heritage Association, Community Pride, and then each council member appointed a person. We held 4 meetings, and during that time, one of our speakers was Roger Clem, who is a local architect who specializes in restoration and preservation of historic buildings. And he came and spoke, and his feeling was pretty much, I feel what the community feels, is that the downstairs should be retail or public use and the upstairs as offices. The revitalization plan has also said the same thing, that retail should be downstairs, that even Greg Tung, who was from Friedman, Tung and Bottomley, who was the group that developed our revitalization plan with so much input from the public, he indicated that the best choice was a public use in the form of the old City Hall building. A questionnaire was sent out, and 45% of the people who responded were in favor of a museum or visitor center. 26% were in favor of a government or civic use. 25% were in favor of mixed use, such as retail on the first floor and offices on the second floor. And 4% were in favor of a dinner theater, arts council and the like, a dinner house theater. We also talked about a fire museum in one half and a store on the other half that sold local products. Of the people that responded, 83% felt that the city should retain ownership of the building, and 17% indicated that the city should sell it. I know the decision has been made. Oh, anyway, so the council totally ignored the Blue Ribbon Committee, by the way. But I know that you've tried to sell it and it hasn't worked out, and I know a lot of it is in poor shape. And that the decision has been made, and it is a 2-year lease. But I just want to remind you how important this building is to the city of Placerville residents, to the history of Placerville. to El Dorado County and the state of California, and also to the school children who affectionately know it as the Mustard and Ketchup Building. I think something important needs to happen in the long run for that building. And this perhaps is just a medium step, but I don't think it should be the final use of that building. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments. Any additional comments? Seeing none, I'd like to have a motion.
Move for approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please call the roll for a vote.
Councilmember Borelli?
Aye.
Mayor Hagan?
Aye.
Councilmember Patton?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilkins?
And I'd like to just add one comment to Kathy Lishman, is that we hear you. We still own the building, and I think this is a step in developing some revenue that maybe we can retain it. It's unfortunately we've looked at a lot of different options, and we continue to explore options for possibility of some grant funding to do some seismic stabilization, which is sorely needed in that building, but not the part that's being rented, but the other part. So, and
May I also add?
Yes.
I don't want you to think we haven't heard the Blue Ribbon Committee. We have. And as Carl said, we're just working diligently trying to make a lot of those dreams come true.
okay, this is item 9, ordinances. 9.1, Chief Heller. So you have 9.1 and 9.2. So,
Thank you, Mayor. The City Council at its meeting on December 10th, 2013, introduced the ordinance and waived the first reading. The purpose of adding Chapter 19 to Title 6 of the Placerville City Code is to maintain streets, parks, and other public and private areas within the city in a clean, sanitary, and accessible condition, and to adequately protect the health, safety, and public welfare of the community while mitigating the serious fire dangers presented by illegal camps. The recommendation is currently to waive the second reading of the ordinance, adding Chapter 19 to Title 6 of the Placerville City Code relating to camping on public or private property, and adopt the said ordinance.
okay. Does council have any question of staff?
Move for adoption. Oh, you have to.
Well, we can. Any comments from the public?
Sue Rodman, Placerville resident, concerned citizen about some of the things that we've had going on in Placerville, the panhandling and the danger of having people doing illegal camping. So I'll shorten my comments to take both of these ordinances at once and say these are badly needed. I think we probably should have had these in place before Hangtown Haven was closed, and probably should have had them in place before Hangtown Haven was even an idea or opened. So I think these are definitely should be part of our city ordinances.
Thank you. Any additional comments from members of the audience? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council for action.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, moved by Ms. Borelli and seconded by Patton. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed unanimously. Item 9.2, second reading.
On this ordinance, the City Council at its meeting of December 10, 2013, introduced the ordinance and waived the first reading. The purpose of adding Chapter 20 to Title 6 of the Placerville City Code is to protect citizens from feeling intimidated, fearful of bodily harm, or damage to property. Likewise, enforcement of the code would aim to reduce blight and increase the quality of life for citizens and businesses in the community. The recommendation is to waive the second reading of an ordinance adding Chapter 20 to Title 6 of the Placerville City Code relating to aggressive solicitation, and adopt the said ordinance.
Okay. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, a motion, please? Yes.
Actually, before we move on that, on the agenda itself right there, under 9.2, item 1 is the exact verbiage as 9.1, item 1.
So there's
It
a,
says camping instead of.
Right, but it needs to say adding chapter, what the chief just read, chapter 20 to title 6. This reads chapter 19 to
Right.
title 6.
okay. So,
I mean, if you look at 9.1,
I agree.
9.21, they're
Yeah.
exactly the same.
Good
okay,
catch.
good catch.
To the bold, so if the bold item, that should be number 1 is what it is,
Yeah,
the verbiage.
okay. So we have a motion with that correction?
Oh, I'll make a motion. Did we already do the public hearing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Then I'll make a motion that we waive the second reading of the ordinance and adopt the action as listed.
I'll second.
Okay, been moved and seconded. Trish was second. All in favor? Aye. It's passed unanimously. For item 10.1, adopt a resolution establishing the appropriation of GAN limit. Mr. Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This is a routine item that you take action on annually. Section 7910 of the State Government Code requires each local government agency to establish an appropriation or GAN limit by resolution. Each year, the city is required to adjust its GAN limit by both the prior year per capita personal income increment and the prior year change in population. The change in per capita personal income was 5.12%, and the change in population was 0.17%. Based on these factors, the fiscal year 13-14 GAN limit is calculated to be $19,084,042. The general fund proceed revenue subject to the GAN limit is $4,968,505, leaving $14,115,537 of unused appropriation limit. And once again, Placerville is well within its GAN limit. With that, staff requests the council to adopt the resolution establishing the GAN limit for fiscal year 13-14 and determining compliance with Government Code Section 7910.
Okay. Are there any questions of staff at this time by council? Go ahead. You want to know where the other 14 million is, right?
I kind of do, what the difference is. I mean, what's the difference between GAN limit money and non-GAN limit money? I mean, just basic.
Yeah, basically when Proposition 13 was approved by the voters, this was one of the mechanisms that ensures that government's budgets aren't exceeding normal growth, reasonable growth. So say if our revenues just mushroomed and we had more money than need, which is not the case, this would squelch the amount of revenue we could keep. It could actually trigger a situation where we would have to in some way refund revenue to the public.
To the taxpayers?
To the taxpayer. Or,
So if it was over and
not,
above.
not be able to raise taxes in any way
Right.
for your general fund, in a nutshell.
Gosh, wouldn't that be neat?
I was having a dream as I was talking.
Just be close to it.
Thank you, Mr. Warren.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the public? Seeing nobody rushing to the microphone, I'll close the public hearing at this point. Bring it back to the board for action.
I move that we take the recommendation from the Director of Finance, Mr. Warren, as noted in item 10.1.
Second.
Yeah, 2 seconds, but take your choice.
Go ahead.
There's a tie. Okay. Is this considered a money item that we need to do a roll call vote?
Vice Mayor Borelli,
Aye.
Mayor Hagan,
Aye.
Councilmember Patton,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilkins.
Aye.
Thank you. We are on discussion and action items 11.1, adoption of a resolution, Mr. Ewell, regarding our Pleasant Street, not so pleasant sewer line failure.
That's accurate, Mr. Mayor. Things aren't so pleasant on Pleasant Street right now. A section of the sewer pipe between Arizona Street and Bedford Avenue has failed to the extent that left unattended may present a risk to public health. The compromised line services 9 residents located along Pleasant Street. As a result of the current circumstance, staff is seeking authorization to take immediate action to procure the necessary equipment, services, and supplies to replace the sewer line in an amount not to exceed $257,000. Staff is working on additional quotes for service from Joe Vicini and Winchell & Sons. Through a combined effort between city staff and local contractors, every effort will be made to keep the costs associated with this project to a minimum. And I think thanks to our engineering department and Nate, Mr. Stong, we're going to have a bid walk this week with our local contractors to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples, so to speak. So at this point, we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Does council have any question of staff?
Yeah, okay. The quotes that you got, and you said it was from Doug Veerkamp? Is that, or you said Joe Vicini? I'm confused.
At the time of the staff report,
Yes.
We had one from Doug Veerkamp and a second one. And since then, we're now working on 2 more. So we'll have a total
okay,
of 4
okay.
by the time we commence the work.
Oh, good, okay.
Any questions? Carol?
So is it accurate to say that this sewer line serves 12 residences?
I believe it's 9.
Okay. Does it service any of the apartments up on the hill too, or not?
No.
Okay.
That's all new.
Okay.
Wow. Those
Great.
are expensive.
Yeah.
Well, it's 1,000 feet.
Huh?
It's 1,000 feet of line, so. And you're replacing 4-inch with 6-inch, so we're upgrading.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious.
And manholes.
Oh, which we don't have now, correct?
Correct.
We don't have any manholes on Pleasant Street?
According to Nate, they're like 1 foot deep right now, the manholes.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
I'm just curious to know whether, and I know that's a really, there's a lot of houses up there and a lot of roads that kind of feed into each other. Since I'm assuming that a lot of those were all built at the same time, and maybe the sewer pipes are of the same age, would it be prudent to maybe do some others while we're doing this? I mean, I know we're talking about money, but still, are any of the others failing around in that area, or?
The purpose of this recommendation is to address an immediate health and safety concern that we have. As far as priorities go throughout the city and other lines that may be in worse condition or the same condition wasn't part of the consideration. We just have an immediate concern over the health and safety of the residents in that area, and that's why we brought this one before you as an emergency measure.
And I understand that, but that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking, have we investigated to see whether any of those others are in the same condition, and maybe it's going to happen next month?
Let me try and answer that. Because of the immediate need on this one, we need to move forward quickly. We do need to do some of that investigating, or we can, but it will take some time to do that. And that's time we don't want to spend before we do this project because of the fear of it causing a major backup.
So anything we do, obviously, in other words, what we do now is not going to have to be torn up in case something else is. I think that's what I'm getting.
I think we're fairly confident in that, aren't we, Nate and Steve, that this only serves that area and it won't be a problem for future, so.
That's correct, and we're also aggressively cammering all of the lines within the city system now.
I knew you were
so
doing
we're
that.
creating an extensive inventory of the conditions of the lines throughout the city.
And that has not been completed in this neighborhood?
No, it hasn't. Not yet.
Not
We're still working on it. Yeah. There's certain lines that you can't fit a camera into
Because they're too small, or because they've already
Right.
collapsed? Yep.
But we'll continue to work on that inventory.
Some of the information regarding needs and et cetera, we'll share with you at our upcoming workshop next week regarding this type of information, so.
Okay, great. All right, any questions from the audience?
Sue Rodman, resident and Measure H committee member. This area has been on the city's CIP list, and it's been a problem area for years, and I've heard about it way back when Measure H when we first did the very first look at all the maps of what we have on the city. And I think it's another illustration of long-term neglect for Placerville's infrastructure. And I am reassured that we're going to make sure that it will tie into future needed work. That's a good thing. I hope we get our priorities in order before we end up in the same situation as a little town in Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
And they had a severe route and poor maintenance. Had done a number on the sewers. Does it sound familiar? And because of insufficient water pressure, which we also have in areas of our city, the pipes kept clogging, causing some to burst. So what's the city to do? Simple, said the town council. Twice a week, citizens will simultaneously flush their toilets in order to produce enough water pressure in the sewer system to dislodge the clogs. I hope we get our priorities in order before we come to that kind of a solution.
Thank you. Seeing nobody else coming forward, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the council for action.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
If I might, because this is being treated as an emergency measure,
Yes.
it will require a 4/5 vote of the entire council, meaning all 4 council members present. For this to pass, we'll have to vote for it. Also, there should be some findings as part of it, so if somebody is inclined to make a motion to adopt this resolution, if they could incorporate in that motion that the council also specifically makes the findings set out in the whereas clauses set forth in the resolution.
So in the recommendation area?
That's actually the findings, the factual basis for it is contained in the whereas clauses in the resolution.
Okay. Okay, I have a council member willing to make a motion that that'll satisfy the city attorney.
I'm willing to make that motion that John just described. How's that? Do I need to say, do you want me to say the whole? Do you, I'm sure, Susan, you've got it, okay. All right.
Okay, we have a second?
I'll make a second.
Okay. And because this is a call for money.
Can I make a comment before we vote?
Sure.
Please? Because I want to follow up on what Vice Mayor Borelli said about the need to look at this as a whole in the neighborhood. And I don't mean to discount the fact that this is an emergency measure, but what Ms. Rodman said about having heard this was a problem coming for years, she's heard it, and then now here we're faced with an emergency measure and spending $250,000, and I, quite frankly, have no idea what this links to and where the next trunk line is going to fail. And I don't mean to slight our staff at all. I know that you're doing the best that you can, but these are the kinds of things that I think if we had accurate data, that we could make a better decision and we wouldn't be operating on an emergency basis. And as long as we have an active Measure H committee, I'd like to see this probably become more of a proactive opportunity rather than react to emergency $250,000 expenditures that
Well,
Dave Warren's going to be really mad at us if we spend all of his money.
But one of the things that has happened in the last few years, we've been trying to do some grant funding for I believe Pleasant Street was one of the ones that we had applied for. I'm not exactly, was it Tunnel?
No,
I thought it was Conrad.
it was
It was around the corner then.
Conrad.
Well, we had a water line grant that's through CDBG for the Conrad Cottage area.
Okay.
And then sewer.
I thought we were
We've
also
got
looking-
design, El Dorado County Water Agency has helped fund design of the Cedar Ravine project, as well as the Hangtown Creek between Clay and Locust Street.
Well, I know we've
And
been
we
trying
continue-
to address a lot of the different water and sewer lines under Measure H and trying to put some priorities to them. And there are several that have issues continually. Tunnel Street, I know, does have some continuing issues. I know Conrad and then some up on the other side of the town over by the old water plant. I believe there's some problems up in that area too. So I mean, there's a number of other streets. So it's, again, with the camera now, we should be able to a little bit more. I know we've done some smoke testing on the larger lines, and now these smaller lines are the ones that are having the failure.
I guess the thing
4-inch
about
line.
this location, when I look at it, I'm going, well, we just did Cottonwood and Clay Street, and this is like one block,
A few feet away.
I mean, a few feet away from brand-new construction. And so if this was a problem years ago, as was indicated earlier, it seems to me that it would have been a lot less if we'd have spent $100,000 then and fixed it. And maybe we didn't have it, I don't know. I'm just saying that I would like to look at it more globally than just on a case-by-case, piece-by-piece measure.
And my thought was, all the equipment's there and everything's going, so.
Right,
you
and
know.
if it's gonna fail on Bedford or Coleman or one of those, why don't we fix it now? But anyways.
But, yeah, it would be nice.
Yeah.
We'd need about $500,000
So I'm
and
hoping that
a
we
grant
get-
of $1.5 million.
I'm hoping we get a CIP program or, you know, a best-case scenario if all our dreams come true. This is where we'd prioritize these sewer lines. Anyways.
Great, good comments. Call for the question, please.
Vice Mayor Borelli?
Aye.
Mayor Hagan?
Aye.
Councilmember Patton?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilkins?
Aye.
Okay, 11.1 passes. Item 12 is council member reports and requests for further agenda items. So, we'll start with you, Ms. Patton.
I wanted to remind the community that there's a Paint What Matters meeting on January 30th at 6 p.m. As far as I know, that's still on the books. And then
Here?
at Town Hall at 6 p.m. And then the budget workshop is next Thursday at 5 p.m. here on the 23rd.
Right.
Actually, that's not a budget workshop, that's a capital improvement workshop.
Oh, a
So,
CIP.
which will give you the opportunity to talk about some of these things in more detail that we just
That we
discussed.
just talked about.
So, yeah, so,
And then for my own, and I don't know how our Community Services Director, Rivas, feels about this, but, or the rest of the council, but I would kind of like to have an update on the sign abatement and how we're moving in that direction. I know it's a touchy subject, but I just would like it
Keep
to
on top of it.
keep, if the rest of the council agrees with that. That's it.
Forget when we were scheduled for that one, but
Is it a regularly
weren't we scheduled to bring it back
program?
around the 1st of February? So,
I'd be more than happy to bring a report on the status of our sign abatement program.
We're still aggressively pursuing it?
Yes. We were,
I think that's what we really want to know, right?
Well, I'd like an update. I mean, if he could, it has to be agendized and.
no, I'd be happy to do so. Basically, what's been happening lately is we've come to the end of the road in terms of, you know, we've achieved very good compliance with most of the people that were, you know, found to have their sign declared a nuisance. So we've had a number of signs, if you probably are aware of, that have been removed. The roof sign at the old Greyhound bus station, the Jets sign, the Clipper sign. So
Oh, is it down?
it's down. So
Oh,
we've made a lot of progress
Good.
on working with property owners to comply. So we still have a few holdouts, and so I've been working with City Attorney Driscoll to, you know, make sure that we're, you know, complying with the law in terms of what are our options in terms of now enforcing the removal of the remaining signs. And I believe we only have, I think, 4 signs left.
Good.
thank you. Really?
Well, let's see, what did I do? I
was
went.
Christmas,
It was Christmas, yeah. I attended the El Dorado County Chamber of Commerce installation dinner. I attended the ice rink opening, and I also attended the ice rink on Christmas night, and I also attended the ice rink on New Year's Eve.
So did you fall down?
I didn't skate, I have to admit that. There, three of us were there and, from the council, and they had us pull the strings to celebrate New Year's at 9 o'clock. And they had a band, Ricky and the Red Streaks representation, and anyway, all the balloons went into the rose garden and popped, so it was all, and I have to tell you, it was great, and and I know I have a business on Placerville Drive, but I still have to commend those folks on Placerville Drive. They just did the greatest job, and I think it was something that our little community has, I can't ever remember we've experienced anything like had an ice skating rink here, and they have every intention of bringing it back next year, and I think it'll be attended probably a lot more, because I think more and more people were beginning to find out about it, and it was like, oh, it's here and it's leaving, you know. So anyway, and then I attended the Seroptimus 75th birthday celebration, the Silva Valley groundbreaking, and I served at the Boys and Girls Club fundraiser at Heroes Night.
Okay. And Trish?
I attended the El Dorado Chamber installation dinner, and as well as the Cameron Park Shingle Springs installation dinner, and also the Boys and Girls Heroes Night dinner.
The Heroes Night?
Good. I attended most of those. Also, including the New Year's Eve at the ice rink, and that, I will admit, that was great. I talked to a number of parents who indicated it was really, really great to have their kids just kept wanting to go back. One of my employees, those kids wanted to go every day. Several I know that had attended 4 and 5 times. So maybe next year the recreation department can sponsor some kids or do something. I know the Kiwanis Club had a youth day, and we sponsored about 80 kids, and it was really great. Those kids had a great time, and sometimes some of them was the first exposure to ice skating. It was not my first exposure to ice skating, and I'm smart enough to stay off the ice. I have a hard enough time walking and chewing gum. I don't want to try to put on roller skates or blade skates. So, but that and then the number of other functions have been going on. I've had an opportunity to attend and look forward to attending more this year. I'd like to thank my fellow board members for appointing me mayor at this point too. But yes.
So I have a question on the ice skating rink and the city's involvement, and you kind of mentioned maybe the Parks and Rec could sponsor, but would it be possible for the city to actually advertise in the Parks and Rec guide? I mean, it is a wonderful, wonderful activity for our city residents. I mean, anyone, any of our residents. Yeah. And I don't know what the protocol is for that, but I would certainly like to look into it.
So it would be similar to like one of the parades that the downtown or PDA puts on, or the I don't know if those things show up in our rec guide or not.
If there's any way we could help support it, I would
things.
Certainly like to explore it.
Yeah, we currently don't have any advertising other than our city programs in the activity guide, but I could bring it up with maybe with the Recreation and Parks Commission, and we could look into it for next year.
I mean, just some of even the parade events that are on down on Main Street, that some of the parents that read that might be a good addition to getting some more visual
most
contact.
Definitely. Yeah, it's a good idea.
Thank you.
Thank you. There were no items pulled from the consent calendar. Mr. Morris, do we have any reports? Well, let's see. I'm sorry. We have a report for 14.1 would be on the status update of conditional use permit for the cellular communications tower located on Sacramento Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Staff had previously reported to you regarding this cell site, and there were a couple of outstanding issues. Basically, the site has been cleaned up. Unused antennas and such have been removed from the site. The question that one of the council members asked was regarding the irrigation. And so basically with respect to that, the landscaping agreement is recorded. Shrubs and trees have been planted. There is a temporary drip system that's solar operated that has been installed. And the irrigation, there is a meter, a private water meter from the adjoining property owner that actually is providing the water, and that is under agreement between AT&T and that property owner.
Good.
So I think once the landscaping is established, then they will actually disengage the drip
Sure.
system. So the drip system purposes are just to, establish the landscaping.
Great.
But it looks good, and that concludes the report on the cell tower.
Okay. Thank you for the update. Any questions?
I
or-
just wanted to say thank you, Pierre. This is just, I'm so glad that this is finally, and former city council member Mark Acuna thanks you too. I know.
Oh, great.
We both really hammered on that, but thank you so much. And I know all the neighbors up there appreciate it.
Great, very welcome.
Good. Mr. Morris, 14.2. So why does it say city manager in staff reports? I should have just said staff reports. Sorry. Mr. Rivas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Staff wanted to bring this to the council's attention only because it's a new law and it really affects a lot of construction activities within the city and actually throughout the state of California. And this is in regards to Senate Bill 407 regarding water conserving plumbing fixtures, which became effective January 1st of this year. So basically what it's requiring is that for all alterations or improvements as a condition for a final permit, all non-compliant plumbing fixtures, and that would be such as toilets, shower heads, faucets, be replaced with fixtures that meet the maximum flow capacity or otherwise meeting the current building code standards for flow. The new provision is applicable to all residential and commercial buildings built on or before January 1st, 1994. So in other words, if you're built after 1994, then you're not subject to this bill. For single-family residential uses, all non-compliant water fixtures shall be replaced by the property owner prior to final permit. And on or before January 1st of 2017, all non-compliant fixtures in any single-family residential property is to be replaced by the property owner. With regards to multifamily uses and commercial uses, all non-compliant fixtures shall be replaced with compliant fixtures in the following circumstances. One, for any building addition, if the sum total increase in floor area is more than 10%, all the fixtures shall be replaced in the commercial or multifamily building. For building alterations or improvements, if the total cost of the construction exceeds $150,000, then all non-compliant fixtures shall be replaced. And three, any alteration to a room will require replacement of the fixtures only within that room. And then on or before January 1st of 2019, all non-compliant fixtures in any multifamily or commercial structure shall be replaced. So for residential, by 2017, it doesn't matter, the criteria will go into, they all have to be replaced. And then for multifamily or commercial, by January 1st of 2019, all fixtures are to be made compliant. So how is the city proposing to implement this? In fact, this is how we're currently implementing it. An application will only apply to alterations and improvements which, in any construction to an existing building that enhances or improves the structure. So in other words, other construction activities related to the repair or maintenance of the structure is not considered an alteration or improvement and thus would not trigger AB or SB 407 compliance. So these would include items such as an electrical service upgrade, re-roofing, termite repairs, seismic retrofit, etc. And there's a list of those as provided. That would be items 1 through 16 in your package. And this list is consistent with the list that was created by the California Building Officials Association. And so what that means is if somebody comes in, they're hard pressed for cash, they got to do a re-roof because it leaks, we're not going to burden the property owner with then retrofitting all the toilets and fixtures in the house. That's the purpose of that list. So how else are we going to do this? Well, we're looking at self-certification. Self-certification will be required prior to the final permit approval or issuance of a certificate of occupancy by the City Building Division. This method of self-certification places the responsibility on the property owner and reduces the costs associated with using limited city inspectors to determine compliance with the individual fixtures that may or may not readily specify flow on the fixture itself. Some jurisdictions will conduct full inspections, such as the city of Davis. So there are jurisdictions that do this, but I think the majority of jurisdictions then are actually utilizing the self-certification. Self-certification will be required for all permits on January 1st, 2017 for single-family structures and January 1st, 2019 for multifamily and commercial structures, regardless of what the permit is for. So the exceptions for repair and maintenance work would no longer be applicable for those types of buildings at those particular points in time. So that's my report on that. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have at this time.
Any questions? I have a couple, but one I was going to ask, if I decide I want to upgrade my flush toilets, do I need to come in and get a permit to do that if I'm just replacing one toilet with a more efficient one?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay.
So you would be then in compliance. And so I think, in fact, the flow is written in the materials you have. It's sort of interesting because the 1994 is when some of the original requirements came into play. And
Yeah, 1.6, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's 1.6.
Yeah.
But now the requirement has been reduced to 1.28, I believe.
Right.
So
I need to find a brick that's about it's
yeah.
0.3.
Right, and I think the whole idea is people aren't allowed
Don't
to
put
use the
bricks
bricks.
in the
Throw a brick at the council instead, right? Yeah. Okay, don't put bricks in the toilet. Right. And I'm sure it'll change again, especially this year with the drought year coming along. But, and what about someone has existing permits out, open permits? So then if they come in and they're doing finals, at this point, the permit was issued prior to the beginning of the year, so it's just a continuation of that permit, and they had to.
It's continuation.
They don't go in and retrofit them
Right.
unless they go in and change their plans.
But this is under a different set of law, so it's not in the building code. It's in a different section under the government code. And so.
Oh, it's under
and
conservation?
This is something I would refer to City Attorney Driscoll, but I believe that as of January 1st then, they would need to comply. And so they would just self-certify.
Self-certify. Okay. Any other questions? Thank you for the
I don't have any on
information.
that, but I think it kind of triggers a question that I was going to ask, and you just brought up that nasty word, drought. And I saw a little bit about what EID is talking about, but what are you?
I believe we followed.
Mr. Warren has been in contact with the EID, and we're going to work with them and kind of follow their lead, and as necessary.
Well, I'm already thinking about it, and I'm already really watching myself, and I just thought maybe it might be nice to put out a reminder and, tell our folks that it's looming, and let's start thinking about it now.
Okay. Good. Item 15, upcoming items, the public hearing regarding the housing element. I believe that is the 28th. I know gave me something to read on the airplane. Fortunately, I ran out of flight time before I ran out of reading.
Bless you.
Then we have some Blair's Lane Bridge Utilities, Community Block Grant Signature, Designee Modifications, Measure J Report, Local 39 Memorandum of Understanding, and any additional items besides this long list?
No additional, but I wanted to mention that most likely the housing element and the Blair's Lane Bridge Utilities will be pulled off of that and moved to the next meeting for there's some
Are we going to be
complications we need
okay on the housing element?
Yeah.
Okay, because I know we have a
Yeah,
deadline of February
right.
28th, right?
Right, we planned that to
Okay.
be able to do it at, there was one more meeting in case we ran into, and there's some issues that came up at the planning commission level that we need to address before
Well,
we
then,
bring it to you.
I would assume, Ben, if it's okay with the rest of council, then I'd like to hear, if the housing element comes off, then we can go ahead and bring in the sign stuff this month, if you do one in 2 weeks?
A report, you mean?
Or just a report on where we stand on those? If we need to take any action, I guess it would be up to the city attorney to inform us if we need to do any action on the next meeting on those 2 or 3 signs. Okay, at this time, anybody else have anything that needs to go on, or did you have any other comments? Okay, so at this time, then we'll,
Mr. Mayor, just for clarification, your agenda says that you're going to adjourn to the meeting of the 28th, but actually you're adjourning to January 23rd to the workshop.
23rd to the workshop for the CIP. Okay. So, this,
Mr. Mayor, can I, before we adjourn?
Yes.
Make one more comment.
Go ahead.
I apologize. I just wanted to bring to the attention of the community and anybody who's interested. Another member of our community died on Friday, and that was Mr. Mike Tomei, who owned Tomei's
yes.
Restaurant on Main Street, and his service will be held tomorrow at 1:30 at the Pheasants Club in West Sacramento for anyone who knew him and is interested in coming to his service.
Thank you. This meeting will be adjourned in memory of Frank Hanley. The next regular meeting of the City Council will be on the 28th, but the next meeting of the City Council will be on the 23rd, and it will be a CIP, Capital Improvement Program, workshop. So that will also be at 6 p.m. at Town Hall, correct? Or 5 or 5 p.m. So we'll be at 5 p.m. on the 23rd. I believe that's what we have on our agenda. All right, thank you all.